But first, Labor's IR reforms have passed the Senate after key Senate crossbencher David Pocock, he's even further left of the Greens, I have to tell you, backed Labor in, and the government shut down any debate and rammed the bills through the Senate. Now, these new laws are a huge blow to business, and they're a big win for Labor's union mates. And it'll add to the red tape that is lifting the cost of doing business in this country. And it's not just more paperwork. There's now the spectre of jail sentences for any boss who might have to call their staff over the weekend. For more on this, I'm joined now by Shadow Attorney General, Workplace Relations Minister Michaelia Cash. Well, Senator, so all those big corporates who thought by backing Labor in on The Voice with all their shareholder money might help them, in the end, Labor's sold them out from under them to the union movement. The union are the big winners here. Business, particularly small business, are the big losers, aren't they?
Absolutely. And Peter, what did big business actually think was going to happen? The Australian Labor Party were born of the Labor movement and the unions affiliated with it. They are the union movement. The union movement donate millions and millions and millions of dollars to the Australian Labor Party each year. The Albanese government is there merely to implement a union agenda. But business should have also learned, Peter, from the way the government treated them at the Jobs and Skills Summit in 2022. They were promised the world, and what were they delivered, Peter? Absolutely nothing. But you are right. The businesses I feel really sorry for are the small businesses across Australia. They are already drowning in red tape. The costs of doing business, as you and I know, continue to go up. And yet what we saw today was absolute disregard for the backbone of the Australian economy, the small businesses. They now have more complexity, more cost, but more than that, Peter, you tell me how they work through the confusion of this legislation.
Well, it was sprung on them within the last 7 days. It wasn't part of earlier negotiations. We know that employers are not sure what they're supposed to do tonight. Workers are not sure whether they're supposed to pick up the phone, like what meets the emergency test. And this spectre exposed late this afternoon, legitimate spectre of jail sentences. I mean, this is serious.
This is really serious. But what it also shows you is this. When you have the numbers in the Senate, which Labor do, it's not much of a negotiation, Peter, when you have the numbers. The Australian Greens and David Pocock equals the numbers, and you rush legislation through with little to no scrutiny. Guess what? Mistakes are made. This chaotic handling today of the right to disconnect amendment by the Australian Greens has seen the Labor Party under Mr Albanese actually vote for criminal penalties for bosses who may call their employees after working hours. What a complete, total and utter farce. And let me be very clear. Tony Burke, you got to love Tony Burke, he is out there blaming me and the coalition. Well, Tony, I have this message for you. We voted against the Greens amendment. You voted for it. We voted against this bill. You voted for it knowing there were criminal penalties now in place for employers. A complete debacle, hardly surprising, Peter, because it was rushed through the Senate. But yes, you're right, Labor now have to clean up the mess they've created. What a joke.